What's up, crafters? Random Ranger here. I'm back, and today I'll be giving you my top 5 tips into learning how to go from building something like this into building something like this. Without further ado, let's just jump right in. Tip number 5. Pay attention to the details. What is this all about? This is all about getting down into the specifics of whatever prop you're working with. You want to compare multiple different sources of information, try to get it from whatever you're making from multiple different angles. So if I'm making, say, a gun or an armor part, I'll pull up from Halo, I'll pull up the game, I'll run around in a game, look at it from those angles, then I'll come back, I'll go into theater mode, and I'll start looking at all the different angles in theater mode, which is actually really good because you can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can get it mostly without anything in the way. So if it's a gun, you can go into forge mode, put it up in the air, go into theater mode and look at it from every angle without character models being in the way. I also like to go online, see what other sources of photos I can find. Maybe there's some concept art that shows exactly what these detail lines are supposed to be, but in the game it's just buried in shadow and texture layers, or the polys aren't there to support it. So jump out, find a bunch of different sources of information, compile them all together into a mental idea of what that prop is supposed to look like, and then make it a reality. Tip number 4, do not be afraid to remake your parts. I feel like a lot of people go into starting a new part or a new project, a new prop or whatever, and they feel like they have to get it right this first time. And if they fail to make something really good on this first try, then they can't make it as a crafter. It's not going to be good. When in reality, I find that one of the hardest parts of making a prop is getting it right the first time. Sometimes it takes several iterations before you truly start to understand how all those pieces fit together and how to use that to your advantage to make the prop better, more accurate, even faster. When I originally made the gauntlets for my Halo Reach build, I made, I believe, like 3, maybe 4 sets of gauntlets before I settled on a pair that I liked. Now, granted, I was also sort of teaching myself a lot of the basics, but some of you out there may be teaching yourself the basics of foam smithing. So don't be so caught up in getting it right the first time. It's just not realistic, and it's not necessary. If you can do something great in 2 tries, then doing it 2 times was certainly worth the extra effort. Don't be afraid to remake your parts. Tip number 3, take pride in the process, not the product. What do I mean by this? Well, costume building, prop making, and etc. is not a one and done. You don't for most people, you don't just make a costume, or make your prop or whatever, and then you're done. And that's it. You're just gonna wear this for the rest of your life. You're gonna use this prop for the rest of your life. That's not how it works. You iterate and you continue making. It's a hobby. People are continuously working on new projects, new costumes, new props, new whatever else is out there. And if you're so busy focused on this prop, this armor piece, and comparing that quality against what you envision as a perfect prop, you're never really going to be happy with anything you make, because you're always going to be comparing it to, oh, well, it's not as good as blank, this detail's missing, or etc. What you should be focusing on is your process. Focus on, don't monitor necessarily your progress building better props. Monitor your process, or your progress getting better at the process. Focus on, oh, I, I made these forearms, and it was really hard the first time. But I learned if I just make a bevel cut on the first try instead of making a straight cut and then dremeling it down, I can get a cleaner cut and I can get that cut faster. And then that'll lead to better seams and such. Focus on making those kinds of leaps rather than, oh, this prop looks so good. It looks so much better than my last one. I'm getting better. Focus on understanding what's going on and getting better at that. Tip number 2, don't rush it. A very common issue that a lot of costume builders run into is con crunch, where there's a convention coming right around the corner. Well, not right now because there's no conventions in 2020. So, historically speaking, con crunch has been a real issue for a lot of people. And what they end up doing is spending 3 days, 2 days, maybe even a night, just cramming out as much work as they can, or maybe there's no event and they're just so eager to get this prop done that they start sacrificing details. They're not paying as much attention, and what they end up doing is making a prop that they'll use for however long that it's good for, a few months, a few years, it's up to you. But what they end up doing is they end up sacrificing the quality of something that they could have spent a couple extra days, a couple extra weeks, maybe even a couple extra months working on it, if it's a larger item, that they're going to be using for a period of time a lot longer than that. And so that sacrifice in quality for just being impatient in getting the prop is not worth it. Just spend the extra time, do it right. You'll be a lot prouder of yourself if you do. Tip number 1. Now the other tips, they can come in almost any order you wish. I don't think it matters that much, but this one is definitely the most important tip, and I saved it for the end and because of how important this one is. Make props for yourself. Unless you're doing commissions, you're the only one who's going to be wearing the costume. You're the only one who's going to be using the prop, unless you give it to a guest or something, but it's still your prop. Make them for yourself. And by that I mean, if you don't care if something is movie accurate, there's no point in stressing about making it movie accurate. And then if someone's criticizing you for not having something that's movie accurate, don't listen to them. That's not why you're making your armor. You're not making your props and costumes and such for them. It's not theirs. If that's not what you want, if you just want to have fun making something that you think is cool, make something that you think is cool. If you want to deviate and put your own spin on something, like make a Captain America inspired Halo costume, which got really popular recently for some reason, by all means, go ahead and do that. It's yours. No one else. You're not making for other people. Don't make it for other people. It's all about you, what you want to wear, and what you're happy with. I can't emphasize that enough. Build for yourself. It's the only way you're going to get through this hobby, having fun and enjoying it. And that's it. That's all I've got for you guys. These were my top 5 tips on building cosplay. If you find these tips useful, or if you've got your own top tips that you think are better or just as or good or supplementary, go ahead and let me know down below. I would love to see what you guys think are your top recommendations. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.